People who have said no to the barber when they asked if their haircut looked good. What's your story? I didn't say anything cause all my hair was gone. Asked for a 5 all over. She thought I said 0. Yeah, 5 and 0 are close, I can see the confusion. I'm someone who hates bangs. They don't look nice on me and they annoyingly tickle my forehead. Every time I meet my barber she keeps insisting on giving me bangs and I always say no, and it clearly pisses her off until one time she accidentally cut a chunk of my front hair and would have to give me bangs to make it look good now. I knew she did it in purpose cause she was playing with my front hair for a bit before suddenly making the cut. That was the last time I went to her. Thankfully my current barber agrees with me that bangs aren't my style. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. If people must know, I didn't tip her and didn't have to pay the extra time it took to cut the bangs, but it did take me a whole year to finally grow it out and get the style I wanted. That honestly makes my blood boil. Did you walk out or stay and pay her? Not me, but my dad. Semicolon. Went to get our hair cut before a soccer game back when I was about 12. Got mine first. Was fine. Sat down while dad got his hair cut. Cue the barber doing the usual, holding the mirror asking if everything looks good. My dad sits still for a minute quietly and says sternly, "That's the worst fucking haircut I've ever had in my fucking life." Everyone just sat there for what seemed like 10 minutes before we just got up and walked out. Nothing else was said. I was beyond fucking embarrassed. And the haircut seemed like the same fucking haircut my dad had gotten since 1980, no better or worse. Still not sure if he just did it to avoid paying, which would be very likely. But he maintains to this day it was a fucking terrible haircut. Best part being the minute of stewing before saying anything. I had a really uneven trim with a couple of bald patches in it once. So I just asked the barber to shave my head completely and I'd start over from 0. He tried to charge me for both haircuts, but I refused to double dip. Lol, I fucked up so bad I'm just going to buzz your whole head. But I want you to pay double for the privilege. When I was a kid, my mom would always take me to the same place to get my hair cut. And I would always end up crying because that lady clearly had no idea what she was doing. I didn't even hold it in until I left the place. I would just tell her that I hated the look and start crying. My mom kept taking me there thinking I was just a stupid kid that would never be happy with their haircut. She was wrong. Now that I've changed several hairdressers, I've been going to the same one for a few years and I really adore her. The day you finally find a barber/hairdresser who cuts your hair exactly as you want, that is a good day indeed. I chose a new style that, as it turns out, I didn't like how it looked on me upon completion. No fault of his. I just didn't like what I chose. Didn't really fit me like I thought it would. I had him shave it bald and had him try something else several months later. Much better. I'll still have him experiment from time to time. Even be his guinea pig for something he wants to try. My husband's aunt is my hairstylist and has been since hubs and I married. We tried bangs. We found out I do not look good in bangs. As soon as she cut them the hairs popped up like they had been curled in the classic 80s bangs style. I looked at her and said I love you, but the bangs suck. She laughed. I laughed. And we haven't done bangs since. I wanted a buzz cut. She was not willing to cut off that much hair, assuming I'd be upset and get angry. 7 times she trimmed off a millimeter and asked me if it was okay. I went out, bought myself a pair of clippers, had a buzzed head in about 12 minutes, and have not been back to a barber since. Never complained about a haircut. But once when I was halfway through and the woman who was just before me that had the same lady came back and started complaining about how my current hair lady did a terrible job and she wanted her money back. My hair lady and complaining lady get into a heated argument about how complaining lady was talking on her phone the whole time and this caused the bad cut. Thought they were about to take it outside. Semicolon. Really a terrible situation to be in. Half cut hair. An emotionally charged cut lady. and not the best feeling about a cutlety. Quite awkward. Thank you Supercuts. Cutlety is such a better name than hairdresser. Thank you for this gift. When I was a kid, my dad and I would go to the local barber. However, once I became a preteen, when you become self-conscious about your hair, my dad and I both noticed our haircuts were getting shittier and shittier. The next time we went, I watched the barber focused on what the barber was doing while cutting hair to see if I could identify what he was doing wrong. It turns out he had become so complacent that he would fixate on the Cubs game on the TV hanging from the ceiling while cutting hair, not even looking at the person's head. I told him it sucked and never went back. So there was a Cubs game on every time you went to get a haircut? I asked for a skin fade that tapers into what I have on top. She went down to skin all the way up. Told her this isn't what I asked for. She got snarky and said I needed to be clearer next time. I paid the bill after she shortened the top to better match the now bald sides of my head. I may not know all the names for barber equipment, but I've been getting this haircut for years and literally everyone but her was able to produce what I requested. Ask me how old I am. Ask me how many years I've been getting my hair cut. Ask me how many times I've been getting this underscore cut. Now ask me why you're the only one who's ever messed it up. She shaved my sideburns up to about 1.5 inches above my ear. I didn't say anything. Just sat there looking pissed. She goes, it'll look good if you put some gel in it. I went up front to pay. Thought about not paying. Paid anyway. 4 people got up and left behind me who were waiting. Never again Mr. Kurtz. Never again. Edit. I had to wear a beanie for a month during a hot summer in Ga until they grew back. A baseball cap wouldn't cut it. My boss was against me wearing a beanie at work initially until I took it off. I had a person at Mr. Kurtz give me white walls around my ears. Like, I asked her to keep it tight and I got a solid inch clear cut all the way around my ears. I looked like Turbo Gump. That was the cut that made me find a barber and keep him. Edit. Shiny metal for my shitty haircut. I'll allow it. When I was about 6 we had a mobile hairdresser who came to our house. I was a real tomboy so mum asked them to cut my hair fairly short. When I saw in the mirror I ran outside, climbed a tree and refused to come down for a couple of hours. I think my views were clearly transmitted. I'm imagining a 6-year-old's version of this HTTPS link. Had a barber offer a hot towel shave at the end of my haircut because he was trying to kill a few extra minutes before he clocked out without having to take another waiting customer. Barber used a Mach 3 razor and absolutely butchered my face. Halfway through the shave people just kept staring at me with blood running down my face while the barber was packing some cornstarch bullshit in the scrapes/cuts. He said, wow, you have really sensitive skin, and I replied, most skin is sensitive when you fucking remove it with a razor. I just pulled the towel off and walked out of the shop. Bloody, half shaved and fully pissed off. My brother thought I got jumped on my way, there was so much blood on my shirt/neck. Best part is, I only got the haircut for professional headshots being taken the next day. Yeah, that didn't happen. Shitty part is, guy was my go-to barber for a few years. Haven't been back since. Edit. A word. Edit 2. Obligatory thanks for the silver stranger. My first one. Sniffle. A hot towel shave with a Mach 3. Aren't you glad he didn't use a straight? I once was in the seat next to a guy who said, yeah, it's fine thank you. When he stood up and turned around I could clearly see his anger in the reflection of the mirror. I don't know why, but this is one of the funniest things when I picture it. I have really thick hair with natural wave. I also have cancer. Over the past couple of years, while I've been battling, I have had a really hard time getting haircuts because stylists can't seem to face cutting my hair. First haircut after diagnosis. My hair was well past my shoulders and I asked for a pixie cut. When she was done it was still way too long, so I asked her to go shorter. She trimmed a lot more and I gave up and said okay. It was still 8 inches long on top and she didn't use clippers. It made a huge mess when it fell out a couple of weeks later. First haircut after finishing chemo. The first time my hair had gone curly. My stylist trimmed the absolute minimum she could. I looked like an old lady with a perm. I asked her to go shorter around my ears so it had more shape to it, and she said no, because it grows slower there. She also would not use clippers. I cried because I hated it so much. Second haircut. Now back in chemo, so my hair was thinning a bit. My husband got a stylist to come to our house. Again I asked for a pixie cut. Again I had to ask her to go shorter. Again no clippers, even though I specifically asked for them. Last haircut. Couldn't face another stylist, so I took my husband's clippers to my own head. I made a mess and my husband helped clean it up. Now I have a sloppy asymmetrical pixie cut, and I'm happier with it than any of the others. Still not sure what I'm going to do when it needs trimmed again. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to see more future videos.